Welcome to Daily Harmony. Have you ever caught yourself thinking maybe I'm a teacher or I'm a partner or sometimes even just I'm really stressed out right now?
Oh, absolutely. It's so common, isn't it? We tend to latch onto these roles, these temporary states.
We do, and it feels like they become who we are. But what if there's something deeper going on beneath all those labels?
That really rings true. We collect these identities as we go through life, but maybe we don't often stop to ask if they're, well, the whole picture.
Exactly. So today we're going to take a deep dive into a really, I think, profound idea from A Course in Miracles. It's lesson 184. The name of God is my inheritance.
Now, that phrase itself, the name of God, it might sound a bit abstract or even religious in a way some might find off-putting initially.
Right. It could sound quite grand, but the core idea, what this lesson is really getting at, is that maybe our true identity, our fundamental worth, isn't actually tied to our job or our relationships or our successes and failures.
It suggests there's this birthright, almost, a connection to something much bigger than our everyday roles, and that's where our real value lies.
hmm So our mission, really, in this deep dive is to try and unpack what this name of God actually represents. And how understanding this idea of a divine inheritance could genuinely shake up how you see yourself, how you see your place in the world.
Helping you maybe move beyond those boxes, those limiting labels we often put ourselves in, sometimes without even realizing it.
Okay, so let's get into it. When the lesson says the name of God is our inheritance, it's not like we're being handed, I don't know, a literal name tag from the divine, is it? What's it really pointing to?
No, exactly. It's not about a specific word or title. Think of the name of God more as a symbol, a really powerful one.
A symbol for what, though?
It represents the essence of who you truly are, that inherent, unbreakable connection you have to what the Course often calls source or infinite love, creativity, peace, basically the divine, whatever term resonates with you.
Okay, so it's signifying that fundamental link, that deep down belonging we have that can't be broken.
Precisely. That connection, that divine heritage, that's presented as the foundation of your true identity.
Yeah.
And importantly, your intrinsic value. It's not something you have to earn or achieve.
It just is.
It just is. It's your birthright, according to this teaching.
Okay, so if that's where our true identity comes from, this divine connection, how does that stack up against how our ego usually operates? Because the ego seems to love building our sense of self on external stuff.
Oh, completely.
Hmm?
You could almost picture the ego as like a frantic builder using temporary materials, achievements, what
hmm
we own, complements, our social status.
Yeah, things that can change any minute.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
because it's built on shifting sands,
Hmm.
any little setback, any criticism feels like a threat to the whole structure. The ego operates from this feeling of being separate, lacking, so it's constantly scanning the horizon for external proof that it's okay, that it's worthy.
Always needing validation from outside.
Right. But this lesson points us inward to a source of worth that's already there, woven into our very being. Recognizing the name of God as my inheritance is like realizing your real home is built on solid rock, not sand. It's unshakable.
And this idea, I mean, it feels pretty radical, doesn't it? This inherent worth, just because we are. Because so much of the world tells us we need to do something or be something specific to be valuable.
That's a key contrast. The lesson stresses that our worth isn't conditional. It doesn't go up when we get a promotion or down when we make a mistake. It's constant because of that fundamental connection.
That sounds incredibly freeing if you can really grasp it.
It really can be. It lives that burden of constantly having to prove yourself.
So if we start to truly internalize this idea that the name of God is my inheritance, how does that actually change things day to day? What's the practical impact on how we perceive things?
Well, it encourages a pretty significant shift in perception. You start moving away from seeing the world and yourself through a lens of fear and scarcity. Am I enough? Do I have enough?
Which is where the ego often keeps us stuck.
Right. And you start looking through a lens of, let's say, inherent love and abundance. When you deeply trust that your worth is secure, you're just less likely to be driven by that constant fear of failure or that desperate need for everyone else's approval.
And moving from that fear-based operating system to one based on love, that sounds like the path to genuine peace, doesn't it? Real fulfillment.
That's exactly what the lesson suggests.
Oh,
True, lasting peace isn't found in collecting more stuff or more praise. It's found in recognizing and resting in that inherent connection to the divine.
tapping into that wellspring inside.
Yes, that deep source of love and okayness that is, as lesson says, your true inheritance.
So, thinking about those labels we started with, doctor, parent, struggling, this understanding helps us see them as just temporary roles, maybe, experiences we're having.
Precisely. They're part of our human journey, the roles we play on the world stage, you could say. But identifying with the name of God helps us realize they aren't the definition of our essential self.
They're costumes, almost.
In a way, yes. They have their function, but they don't dictate our fundamental value. When your identity is anchored in that divine heritage, the labels just don't have the same power to define your self-worth.
Okay, can we make that even more concrete? Like, give an example. Say I give a presentation at work, and it bombs. It doesn't go well at all, and I start feeling like a complete failure. How does this lesson help right then?
Okay, good example. In that moment, the ego immediately wants to slap that failure label right on you, right? And that brings up feelings of inadequacy, maybe shame, self-criticism.
Yep, sounds familiar.
But if, in that moment, you can consciously bring to mind, wait, the name of God is my inheritance. My real worth isn't based on this presentation. It starts to loosen the grip of that failure label.
Doesn't mean you pretend the presentation went well.
Not at all. You can acknowledge the outcome, maybe see what you can learn from it, but you don't let it define you. You remember that core value, that divine spark within you, remains untouched by this external event.
It reminds me of that idea of trying to see yourself as God sees you, or calling yourself as God would. Looking past the immediate situation to that inherent goodness.
Yes, that's a beautiful way to put it. It's about recognizing that divine reflection within yourself, shifting from the ego's harsh judgment to the unconditional love and acceptance that is your true source.
This all feels like it circles back to remembering something we maybe knew deep down but forgot. You mentioned our sacred origin.
That's a really crucial aspect, I think.
Mm.
This lesson, and much of the course, isn't so much about learning new information as it is about remembering our true nature.
Remembering who we really are?
Exactly. The idea is we become so caught up in the world's illusions, the ego's stories about separation and lack, that we've sort of forgotten our inherent connection to the divine, our sacred origin.
And remembering that brings what?
A profound sense of belonging, I believe, a deep connection, that feeling that you're not alone, that you're inherently loved, and that you're part of something vast and meaningful.
Okay, this sounds wonderful, truly. But how do we make it real in our lives? It's one thing to talk about it, but how do we actually start to, live from this understanding day to day? What are some practical steps?
Well, the Course itself offers practices. One simple but powerful way is through affirmation, just consciously stating the lesson's idea. The name of God is my inheritance.
When would you do that?
You could start your day with it, maybe
Okay.
repeat it silently or aloud, and crucially, bring it to mind during those moments when you feel doubt creeping in or fear, or when you catch yourself falling back into an old limiting label.
Like a little reminder, a course correction for the mind.
Exactly. It helps reinforce that deeper truth. Another really valuable practice is reflection. Simply taking a few quiet moments, maybe during the day, just to gently consider what this name of God, this divine inheritance actually means for you, for your identity.
So not just repeating the words, but mulling over the meaning.
Right. You could ask yourself something like, if my worth is truly inherent and comes from this divine connection, how does that change how I feel about myself right now? Or about this situation I'm facing?
That feels more active, like engaging with the concept directly.
It is.
Oh.
And you could also extend that reflection to look back. Think about times maybe you felt really disconnected or your identity felt shaky because of something external. How might remembering your divine inheritance have changed your experience then?
So looking back helps you spot the ego's patterns.
Yes, seeing where the ego tends to hook you. That awareness is key. And finally, maybe cultivating gratitude. Actively noticing and appreciating the good in your life experiences, relationships, as simple blessings, can really help affirm that sense of connection to source, to your divine inheritance.
Focusing on abundance rather than lack.
Precisely.
Yeah,
Shift your focus towards what you do have, which includes this inherent divine connection.
those are really helpful, actionable things people can try. So bring this back to challenges because life throws curveballs, right? Setbacks happen. How does knowing the name of God is my inheritance help us navigate those tougher times?
It offers a completely different perspective, a different way to frame those difficulties. Instead of seeing a challenge as proof of your inadequacy or as something that diminishes your worth,
Which is often the default reaction.
it often is. But with this understanding, you can start to approach challenges from a place of inherent strength and, importantly, connection. You remember your core value isn't on the line.
So the setback doesn't define you.
Exactly. You might see it more as an experience, maybe even an opportunity for learning or growth, knowing that your true identity, your connection to the divine, remains perfectly intact and supported, regardless of the external circumstances.
That really does shift things. It's like facing the storm knowing your anchor is secure deep down, rather than feeling like you are the storm.
Beautifully put. It moves you from reacting out of fear, oh no, this proves I'm not good enough, to responding from a place of deeper peace, trust, and reliance on that inherent connection.
Okay, so wrapping this up then. The fundamental message we've been exploring from Lesson 184 is that our real inheritance, the ultimate source of our worth and identity, isn't found in jobs, roles, possessions, or what others think.
No, it's found in the intrinsic, unbreakable connection to the divine, which the Course symbolizes with the phrase, the name of God.
And really taking that in, remembering it, practicing it, that allows us to gently let go of those limiting ego identities.
And hopefully, live from a place of much greater inner peace, a sense of inherent love, and that deep feeling of belonging that comes from knowing your true source.
It's a pathway to a more authentic and fulfilling experience of life, it seems.
I believe that's the promise.
A truly transformative perspective to consider. So, for our final thought today, maybe we can leave you with this. Take a few moments sometime today, just pause, and actively explore what the name of God might truly mean in your own heart for you personally.
And consider this. How might remembering this divine inheritance shift your perspective even just slightly on a specific situation or challenge you're currently navigating?
Because as we've touched on, real understanding often comes not just from hearing the idea, but from that consistent, gentle practice and reflection in your own life.
It unfolds through experience.
Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today.